Hey everyone, this is Kit Cabello with Heartlands Media. We've got a special exclusive interview with you guys. Chicago's very own. Corporate media says he's more dangerous than Trump. Politicians say that he needs to lower his tone because it's sounding too violent. That's right, give it up for Chicago's very own, the one, the only, Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore, thank you so much for joining us here today. We're glad to have you back on the show.
I'm going to stab you in the chest with an adjective.
Yeah, well,
careful, those hurt.
Hey, to quote Nancy, calm down, calm down, calm down. We feed people. So there's a lot to really address here, and I want to start things off with hashtag force the vote. Now, a lot of your critics have been saying, well, this is just a crazy idea. It should never happen in the first place. He's getting things wrong. Jimmy, let's take the liberals' line of correct the record. I want you to correct the record on force the vote. One, you know, when you were talking about this on your show, what started this? Because this caused a whole movement and a great revealing about who's really going to fight for Medicare for all and who's just going to say, well, I'm so angry, I want to change the world, but now's not the time. Keep your powder dry.
So it was just an obvious thing that they had lost so many seats. The Democrats are so horrible. Even under Trump, they lost seats in the House. So I saw how slim the margin was, and I was like, hey, wait a minute. I'm pretty sure that there's enough squad progressives that if they withhold their vote from Nancy Pelosi, they can extract something from her because they'll be the swing votes. You know, but very much like the Freedom Caucus did to John Boehner. They drove him crazy into the fact that he quit being the speaker because he couldn't corral. And the difference between the squad and the Freedom Caucus is that the Freedom Caucus actually worked together as a cohesive group. And the squad has no intention of doing that. They had no strategy until me, a pothead YouTuber comedian, came up with this strategy. And then they were like, oh, no, we have our own strategy. Just AOC said that, by the way. None of them else would even engage it. We had a town hall with Cornel West. 100,000 people showed up. Mm-hmm. Crystal Ball was there. Kyle Kalinske, Bernie Sanders' press secretary. Not one of the squad even acknowledged it. Not only did they not show up, they didn't acknowledge it. And so hashtag force the vote is not a radical idea. In fact, the reason why I presented it the way I did was I thought it would be a unifier for the left. And I told people I have a lot of bad faith attackers, you guys know this. Mm-hmm. And I told them that, hey, I'll forgive you. And if you feel like I've attacked you, forgive me. Let's come together and do this. And
sounds like a good plan.
And because we all agree on this. Mm-hmm. And guess what? Everybody agreed on it. Even my detractors agreed on it. Even Cenk Uygur agreed. He said, this is a great constructive idea that Jimmy's pushing, and we should do this, of course, and blah, blah, blah. So that's, and in the DSA, you know, the Democratic Socialists of America, in their own handbook, their manifesto, the centerpiece is to do this, is to force a floor vote for Medicare for all, no matter how you do it. That's the most important thing. That's their own words in their manifestos. So that's why this was such a blindside to me that half the quote unquote progressive left was split over this. And they said, Jimmy, you know, hashtag force the vote split the left. And I said, it did not. What it did was reveal that there's a divide between people who are actually going to fight and people who are posers and who aren't. So people like Cenk Uygur and TYT are complete posers who take $24 million in corporate cash and then move to the center, smear Julian Assange. And when the time comes to fight for Medicare for all, they attack me.
Yeah. So actually, I'm not sure if you know this. Kate was just working on this. Let us know if you know this already, but you can let them know what our DSA find we just made.
Well, we have one of our sources, a person who's part of our team. I want to keep them anonymous for the time being, but they've been listening and following DSA, and now apparently, out of the blue, Jimmy, it's almost too little too late, but DSA is now organizing their own hashtag force the vote. So in other words, they're going to do it, only except there's been a huge divide between the membership and the leadership. And right now, at least before this reveal was made, before this was shared to us, we're going to talk about this on tomorrow's show. But apparently DSA's membership or leadership.
They're like, now that Jimmy's is done, we'll do it.
And the leadership was more on board of, impeachment, 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 even though the House is out of session until January 20th, and January 21st is when Biden gets inaugurated into office. So I want to get your comments on this, because again, we're going to talk more about this on tomorrow's show, but DSA is now doing their own force to vote. How do you feel about knowing that they're swooping in and thinking like, okay, well, we're going to lead the way? Do you think anything will fundamentally change with their plans or the way they're going to run it?
Well, I think this moment revealed, it's not me making an accusation about the DSA. It revealed that when the time came to implement their own plan, they wouldn't. The leadership. I think the membership is, again, just like the Democratic Party and the Democratic leadership, 86% or 89% of the Democratic electorate wants single payer Medicare for all. The Democratic Party elected members aren't going to do, the leadership isn't going to do that. 85%, 86% of the Young Turks audience wants the hashtag force to vote. It's their leadership that isn't going to do it. So the same thing with the DSA. I'm sure if they polled, they wouldn't even do a poll. So I'm sure if they polled their membership, they would come out pretty much, I bet 90%, 86, something. I bet it would be overwhelming support for do hashtag force to vote. So they didn't poll them. So you tell me what kind of a fucking organization that is. And then you got guys like Ryan Grimm, who's got a sweetheart deal with the Squad, totally corrupt. You can see that access journalism play out is amazing. And what he's saying is that Jimmy Dore doesn't know how to build coalitions. I don't know how to reach out to the DSA or the nurses union. That's not how you get people on board. Hey, I don't give a fuck if they come on board with my plan. They can all go fucking suck it. It's their goddamn plan that they're not fucking endorsing. And if the DSA and the nurses don't get on board for hashtag force to vote, fucking shame on them and their fucking leadership. Not shame on me because I'm pushing for the thing that the Squad fucking ran on. Really, I've got to mollycoddle fucking people whose whole existence is to do this. Ryan Grimm had it exactly backwards because he's practicing access journalism and he works for a corrupt organization, which is The Intercept, which fucking did Russiagate at the top of their lungs. They still do it. They McCarthy smear all their political enemies, and then they practice censorship in favor of the oligarchy and the corrupt warmonger Joe Biden, and they get rid of Glenn Greenwald over it, the actual Pulitzer Prize winning journalist who has integrity. So that's what the Ryan Grimm and the fucking Intercept. So instead of Ryan Grimm coming out apologizing for the softball interview that his outlet gave to AOC without asking a single follow-up question, and Jeremy Scahill knows how to ask follow-up questions, so that's how I know that was a setup. Because he knows exactly how to do journalism, and he didn't on purpose. And then Ryan Grimm comes out and runs interference. They're literally running interference for fucking politicians. So this is a great clarifying moment for the left. You get to see people like Cenk Uygur and TYT smear Julian Assange and then kneecap hashtag force the vote, even though their own audience wants it, and they've said they wanted to do this forever. The moment came and it revealed. Same thing with The Intercept, the same thing with Ryan Grimm, the same thing with all those other people. You know who they are. So I didn't cause a divide. This revealed the divide between people who are faux progressives, who are actually looking for a job inside with the establishment, who are going to kneecap progressive agendas when we decide to fight. That's who the Young Turks turned out to be. $24 million from corporations and right-wingers is going to do that to you.
Yeah.
No, I actually want to ask this because I think a lot of people tend to forget, like there's a lot of polls that are showing that Democratic voters, independent voters, and surprisingly, Republican voters all agree that we need to have Medicare for all. We actually just got done interviewing Justin Jackson as well. And, you know, there are a lot of voters and people who agree that our healthcare system is horribly broken, horribly inept. And yet when we look at politicians like AOC, who was endorsed by DSA, who beat Crowley, one of Nancy Pelosi's groomed successors, we're seeing like, okay, these people are saying, fight for Medicare for all. We're seeing organizations like National Nurses United, DSA, and so many others saying fight for Medicare for all. Other larger platformers, blue checkmark people saying fight for Medicare for all.
I mean, even really directly, there are more Republicans that are for Medicare for all than members of the Squad that actually seem to want to push it. That is how do you even describe something like that in this world?
Yeah.
Not one member of the squad pushed it. They didn't take the chance to do it. They didn't do anything. It was 4 blue dog corporate Democrats who withheld their vote from Nancy Pelosi, or how many was it? 3? I don't even know.
There was 5. 3 voted against her, and then there were 2 I believe who abstained, who chose not to get involved.
So again, and then people had to lie about it. And as Dylan Radigan said on my show, the reason why so many people are coming out against me and making it about me is because the idea is a really good idea. And so it was a really good idea that everyone knows they should have did it, and they didn't fight. And so the Justice Democrats, people should stop sending them money immediately. There has to be a consequence for them not fighting and rolling over and getting nothing and not even addressing us. Hey, you can ignore me, but how do they ignore Breonna Joy Gray? How do they ignore Kyle Kalinske? How do they ignore Crystal Ball? How do they ignore Cornel West, Medea Benjamin, Marianne Williamson, Susan Sarandon? How do they fucking ignore all these people? Justin Jackson, Ryan Knight. How do they ignore all the 100,000 fucking progressives at a town hall? They just ignored it. So that is a fireable offense. And so I think we should fire them, and we should stop supporting them with money. The first thing we should do, and we need to try to scare the hell out of them or get rid of them. And my idea is obviously voting for progressives inside the Democratic Party is a failed experiment. The Justice Democrats are a failed experiment.
So I want to ask this, Jimmy, because you said originally when we were talking earlier, like, you did this and you're like, look, this is a reasonable idea. In fact, it's a really good idea. It has a really good chance of working. This should be this unifying moment. I mean, it must have you've worked with a lot of these people who have just done these obscene things against you. What was that like just for you? Because I know as much as we're talking about how this was a movement and the movement was not you, you were just a spark within the movement that other people joined into. But on a personal level, what's it like when people that you've worked with for years just betray you to such a degree over something that we're all supposed to agree on?
It's not easy. I don't know what else to say. It's not, but I don't want, it's big deal, right? It shows the soullessness of the Young Turks and Cenk Uygur and Ana Kasparian. And it just, go look at my channel. Look what they did to Julian Assange. The guy's literally being tortured into an inch of his life because he won't give up his sources. And they literally run a hit piece from the CIA, and they agree with it. And they say, you can't trust Julian Assange while he's in prison, being persecuted to death for doing journalism. So the Young Turks literally turned on journalism.
Yeah.
That's what $24 million will do for you, and a need to get more of that money and their pivot to the center. They threw Julian Assange under the bus. So I'm not in prison, so it makes sense that they would throw me under the bus. So the weird thing was that Cenk Uygur agreed with this publicly in a very strong way. And then 7 days later, he got a call from his manager inside the Democratic Party, or his Jeffrey Katzenberg. Jeffrey Katzenberg, one of the most richest men in the world, one of the most powerful media moguls. And now he's got the Young Turks around his finger. That's an independent news media? That is not. They have a board that those guys sit on, all those venture capitalists that are now on the Young Turks board. They fund Hillary Clinton's campaign as Cenk Uygur was trying to push Bernie. It's ridiculous. So it's revealing, that Ana Kasparian came out and said, yeah, this is a great idea. And of course we should all do this, and we should be pressuring politicians. But I want to take this moment that Jimmy Dore is offering this up as a good strategy for the left. I want to take this moment and make it toxic. And I want to smear Jimmy Dore like a high school kid because I'm an immature, a jealous person because, it's obvious. So, and she's not a journalist at all. She doesn't do journalism. She's admitted she won't do journalism. And she just tried to make this moment as toxic as possible to undermine #ForceTheVote and a chance for people to get healthcare, because she has gold-plated healthcare, and so does Cenk Uygur. And I said, Cenk, if you're against #ForceTheVote, to give up your healthcare for you and your family, and then tell me when we should do it. Of course they won't.
Yeah, I just want to kind of keep this focused on TYT. And look, maybe this is going to be a little tough to talk about, but I think we do need to address it. So some time ago, I actually did on Rockfin a movie review of Mad as Hell, which is that biopic on Cenk Uygur and TYT. And, you know, I used to watch The Young Turks religiously a lot. We all did. Yeah. And, you know, I'm going to keep it real. We were inspired to do Hard Lens Media because of what we saw from TYT.
We're all connected through Wolfpack.
Yeah, we've done volunteer for Wolfpack Illinois, and it's been a tough breakaway for us because I never really liked the pathway they went down in 2016.
Yeah.
So I want to just rewind back the clocks to beginning.
And then, isn't it funny that the path they went down in 2016, and then just a year later, they got $24 million from Jeffrey Katzenberg, Hillary Clinton's donor and fundraiser?
They passed the test.
It's madness. So I actually kind of want to talk about the environment before, I guess, the 2016 presidential election cycle, when you were there with them, and Cenk and Anna and everyone else, John, and you know, the whole crew. What was the environment, at least before 2016? What was the environment like there at the Young Turks? I mean, what, because you were talking, especially when you did a couple live streams, you know, when you kind of called them out on your show a few days ago. But what was the environment like at the Young Turks before 2016?
And when did you notice the change?
Yeah, when did you notice the change?
Did you see it? Was it something? Or
No,
was it
they
gradual?
it's for some, well, the environment before, when we were all on the Bernie train and we were outing the corporate media for smearing a progressive candidate, it was great. It was like, this is what I was meant to do. This is fantastic. And we all felt that way. And then it seemed like, for whatever reason, Cenk and the rest of the Young Turks could not wait to throw Bernie under the bus and go with Hillary Clinton. I remember it was the New York. I mean, I gave so many speeches like, this is not over. Yeah. This is, we keep going. And then remember when Bernie gave a speech and he says, we're going to Philadelphia. We're going to, and I was screaming, yes, we're going to Philadelphia. Let's keep going. They had already given up on Bernie months earlier.
Yeah.
They were not doing that. They were like, no, fuck it. Hillary all the way. Fuck Bernie. Don't go to the fucking convention. They were already in the Hillary. So that's when that was weird to me. I'm like, why? What is in it for you guys to do this? I don't know. It turned out they wanted to get money from Hillary Clinton's donors.
So, and actually
so let me just say, and then they went on to do Russiagate and McCarthy smear all their political enemies. And then any story that matched up with Russiagate, they would just repeat. Any CIA talking points, they would just repeat. That's why they smeared Julian Assange. They took a complete bullshit article by Luke Harding that was published in the UK. It was obvious CIA propaganda. Nobody else reported it like they did. They reported it without any criticism. There was no sources. There was no sources, and Anna Kasparian literally says, you know, they have two unnamed sources, and they do that to protect the sources from retribution. Oh, really, Anna? Do you know that there's a guy in jail right now protecting his sources? Yeah. You maybe want to side with that fucking guy instead of the CIA's unnamed sources, which there aren't any. Mm-hmm. So that's the kind of bullshit journalism they do. It's not a journalistic outlet. And it was hard for me to bite my tongue for 4 years, and I thought that, or 3 years, I thought after the Mueller report came out that they would stop doing all that and they would get their head back, and they didn't. And Cenk Uygur just would not admit that he was 1,000% wrong, and he just went from one horse Russiagate to a different. No, I'm saying it's about his financial. It's what Mueller wasn't looking at. So they just made up a whole new conspiracy theory, and of course they get away with it. Like I say on my show, when you lie at the behest of the establishment, there's never a price to pay. So Young Turks have been lying and smearing all their political opponents at the behest of the establishment over the last 4 years, which is why they've never had to pay a price. So I'm finally starting to make them pay a price for that because of what they did to me over #ForceTheVote. I bit my tongue all that time. I bit my tongue. Mm-hmm. And now finally they're going to come out and try to smear my character. Well, I'm going to let everybody know that the Young Turks has absolutely no character. They're not independent media. They're corporate media, and they already made the decision to sell you out. And what do I mean by that? When they got that fucking money from Clinton's donors, an executive at the Young Turks looked me right in the eye and says, Jimmy, we know we have to move to the center. So that's what's going on. There's not, and now they're raising money like televangelists. If you send send us money. Somehow you'll get COVID relief. Send money to the Young Turks so you can get COVID relief. That's like, and I know you've never let us down before. Where have I heard that before? Oh, that's right. Benny Hinn. You're not going to let Jesus down. We're going to.
Yeah, because Jesus needs that Rolls Royce.
As George Carlin
Jesus down before. You've never let Jesus. That's what the Young Turks say now. You've never let us down before. Send us money and we'll get you COVID relief. They're disgusting and everybody sees it now.
Yeah.
Actually, I would just want to kind of bring things back because there was one incident on the Young Turks that I remember, especially during the 2016 primary. I want you to clarify to the best of your recollection. Recollection.
There we go.
Jimmy. Got that messed up. But
it was, I think, the moment both of us also pulled away from TYT.
It was the New York primary. And I remember this because I was in a super fast rush to get home to actually watch. I was watching you guys on my cell phone. And it was nearing the end. It was quite clear that there was election fraud taking place. The Clinton campaign and DNC establishment were working together to deny Bernie Sanders a nomination, especially in New York State, where so many Bernie Sanders supporters and Democratic voters were just taken off, the ballots and everything else.
I was really almost pissed back then because of the Facebook group incidents that were happening.
The Facebook incident too, and at the end of that video coverage of the New York primary, nearing the end, it was New York was declared for Clinton, allegedly. Cenk Uygur says this, and please let me know if this is correct or not. I heard him say, "How do we help Hillary Clinton?" And at least how I remember it, you just kind of turned to him and just kind of gave him this look. So, and again, I can't read your mind, but it's just
we've always been trying to figure out what you were thinking in your head
at that moment, because
it's always stuck out. To us
and police, and again, it's been 4 years since 2016, of course. Can you just give us an idea? Give us some closure. What happened during that final coverage of the New York primary? If Cenk said hey, how do we help Hillary Clinton?
Honest to God, I wish I could remember. I don't remember that moment. I don't remember him saying that. I don't remember my reaction. So I apologize. Wow. I wish I did. Maybe if I watched the video of it, it would jar my memory. But
you had this look of just abject disgust that just appeared on your face, and it's of course, that seems reasonable.
Yeah,
I'm like, what? We just got confirmation that they overwhelmingly cheated Bernie, and your flex is that we got us to protect. So that's their flex too. And when the squad just went and abandoned us, and Marianne Williamson has described it as she is politically homeless, Cenk Uygur says, no, you got to be nice to them. No, they didn't do anything wrong. It was Jimmy Dore. He made a mess. Jimmy Dore made a mess. And then you see other people saying that I should have maybe just started earlier, or say it was always something to do with I didn't do it right. Well, what the fuck is AOC's job? What is Ayanna Pressley's job? What is Ro Khanna's job? It's their job to be strategizing together. What Force the Vote revealed was that they're not.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's up to a pothead comedian on YouTube to come up with the perfect strategy for us to get Medicare for all, what the fuck are they doing?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, I want to now talk about after 2016, because you were still with the Young Turks even when they got that 24 million. And there's a couple of things I want to bring up. Number one, you mentioned
I didn't get any of that money. I didn't get any of that.
No. I'm not asking that. I'm asking about the environment at the Young Turks then, because again, you already stated that people were pulling you aside. We're going to be moving to the center, but
I'll tell you. I'll tell you what the environment was. The environment was everybody that I talked to at the Young Turks had stopped watching the Young Turks news show.
Wow.
Everybody who I talked to who worked there, except for the people on air, had stopped watching that news show. Wow. Because it got so Loser Donald, do you remember that?
Oh,
yes.
Oh, that was so annoying.
Oh, that was so dumb. That was dumb.
So annoying. And that was obviously done to entice Clinton donor money. And that was just stupid and disgusting. And so I was beside myself, and I called up Steve-O and I said, hey, we don't watch this fucking show anymore. Why don't we do our own show that comes on at 5 o'clock, and we could be like the rebuttal to the main show, right? But we'll do it respectfully, but we'll provide the progressives with the actual facts of what are happening. And so Steve-O said, this is a great idea. So he called Cenk, and then we were supposed to do it. And then right before we did it, Cenk called me and said, hey, we're going to put it behind a paywall.
I remember that.
What was your reaction with the paywall?
That was the most. That was the most.
Why are you doing?
Yeah, that was
terrifying.
terrifying.
Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? He's like, well, everybody does that. You know, HBO does that. Showtime does that. Why don't we do that? And I'm like, well, because that's not your fucking business model. That's why your business model is to put a show on YouTube and build up a lot of subscribers, and then you make advertising money off it. That's your fucking model. And they still did it anyway. They put me behind a paywall. And so I just thought that I would do enough good work on Aggressive Progressives that they would see it and they would change the way they were doing their show. I was obviously really wrong because it wasn't an accident that they were getting Russiagate wrong. That was intentional. They were intentionally pushing establishment propaganda, just like they pushed establishment propaganda against Julian Assange, just like they're pushing establishment propaganda against me. Cenk and his criticism of me sounds exactly like AOC. And Ryan Grimm. They're amazing. Mm-hmm. So once it got revealed that they weren't going to change, I left.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was like I tried to, I don't even know. Anyway. So I left. And, you know, when I came to the Young Turks, I was already successful. I'd already had 2 Comedy Central specials, one that in 2008 that was chosen Best of the Year by iTunes and Punchline Magazine. And then I started working with them the next year, and I had a national radio show at that time. I had 2 comedy sets. So Cenk likes to rewrite history. He says I came begging to him for a job. Cenk didn't even give me that. It was Steve O when Cenk was in New York doing MSNBC.
Oh, yeah.
They called me up and said, would you like to come guest host for us? And I said, sure. And I went in and they said, don't look at the comments. Everybody hates our guest hosts. They only like Cenk. Well, guess what? I did look at the comments and every commenter loved me. So they immediately offered me a contract and wanted to hire me. Mm-hmm. And so I had a show there starting. And as soon as Cenk found out that Steve-O had given me a show, he canceled it. He took it from being a daily show to a weekly show, which we all know if you do one show, 1 hour a week on YouTube, that's not how you build up a channel on YouTube when you're doing the news. Yeah. He wouldn't allow me to follow his strategy. In fact, he's never repeated that strategy, right? Where you make a news show and you do 5 to 8 clips a day, short clips. Well, now the algorithm have changed, but back then, 10 years ago, that's what the algorithm was. And he's never repeated that. He broke the code on how to do YouTube. He never repeated it. And he certainly wasn't going to do it with me. So I just want to get that because I saw somebody sent me that thing where Cenk was saying that about how he's helped my career or something. They loved having me. I saved their ass, and then they fundraised off my progressive bona fides. Right. I was the fucking real progressive there. That's why I hosted Aggressive Progressives. Mm-hmm. And I said to Cenk, I couldn't take it anymore. I said, Cenk, you know, when you have the power panel on Fridays, this was after Hillary Clinton won. I said to him, I go, you know, could you when you have 4 Hillary votes? I said this to the executives at the Young Turks. I said, you know, when you have 4 Hillary voters on a power panel, you can't call yourself alternative news anymore. Just FYI. So when you're all in agreement with the establishment, that's not an alternative news show. So Cenk, can you guarantee me that I can be on every Friday panel? I'll be the progressive voice. I'll be the lefty voice. And he said, no. And I said, why won't you do that? I'm willing to come in and do it for no extra money. I'm willing. Why wouldn't you want your most popular host beside yourself on your Friday power panel when you're going to have these people that nobody cares about? And his answer to me was, I have to make more Jimmy Dores.
What?
And I'm like, which was, you know, he was taking credit for my success, which was bullshit. And what I've asked him since is, hey, Cenk, how's that going? Since you were able to make me, I guess you're able to make more Jimmy Dores. How'd that go? Well, when I quit the Young Turks, he went and addressed the audience and he said, well, he goes, people are saying who's going to host. He says, well, I don't have a garage full of Jimmy Dores to just plug in. No shit. No shit. I thought you made me. I thought it was him. He was the one who does that. So he kept me off that panel because he didn't want to offend his Clinton fucking donorship that he was trying to groom. That's why he kept me off the main show and they kept me off the panel and they put my show behind a paywall because Cenk was trying to get corporate cash and he didn't want to offend them.
Wow. I'm sorry you went through that, Jimmy. I had no idea that was.
I was 100% betrayal.
Yeah.
And but it wasn't just betrayed. They betrayed themselves. They're not what they were. They're a corporate entity that is that pushes the establishment narrative. They've pushed and they're pro-war. Every war. Libya, I was against Cenk on Libya the first time in 2014, and then again when Trump did it, and then he calls them Nerf bombs. What kind of a fucking, what are you, David Frum? Who hosts that fucking show? That is ridiculous, mental pro-war shit from Cenk Uygur and the Young Turks. Always. Yeah. I went back, I was looking for a clip from Medea Benjamin, and I put a Google search in, and the clip came up from 2010, I think, with him interviewing Medea Benjamin about the Afghanistan war. And Medea Benjamin was saying, we have to get out of there. And Cenk was saying, no, we have to let Barack Obama do his plan. And she's like, it's been 8 years, Cenk, 9 years. How many more years do you want to do this war? And he's like, we got to let Barack Obama do it. So Cenk is always, even for the Afghanistan war, Cenk was wrong. Libya, crazy. He's wrong with Syria, Venezuela. He's wrong on Julian Assange. Is there anything they're not wrong about? They're wrong on hashtag force the vote. No, and now they're telling us that we're not supposed to pressure progressive politicians who are elected. They're literally saying we're not supposed to pressure progressive politicians. Well, let me tell you something, how politics works. Those people who are in Congress are feeling unbelievable institutional pressure to move to the right. They're being pressured by the party. They're being pressured by the party leadership. They're being pressured by the corporations and the billionaire donors, and everybody else is pressuring them to move to the right. The establishment media is. The only people who can push them left are people like us. And so when the independent media don't do that, they're going to move to the right like they just did. They voted for the Patriot Act. They voted for the largest upward transfer of wealth in history with the CARES Act. And then LC lied about it. And then they just did this. They voted for Nancy Pelosi without getting a fucking thing. And then they lied to us that they were getting things. They didn't get pay-go exemption for this. That was already negotiated before. They're lying constantly. So this idea that you're not supposed to call out politicians when they're lying to you, don't listen to people who tell you that. And the people who are telling you that, if you read the comments under their videos, their own fucking audiences is calling them out. So
yeah, right. And so I want to believe, I want to kind of deal with it, unless you want to add something else. Well, okay, I want to switch subjects now to something good, or at least maybe it's the pathway to something good. I am a huge supporter of third parties. We should have a true parliamentary system. I believe that we need to definitely get rid of this one party / quote unquote two-party system that we have. You are part of the Movement for People's Party Advisory Council. I think for a lot of our viewers, a lot of people are starting to back away from the Democratic Party. People are finally seeing that the two-party system is one the same. They're all friends with each other.
Doesn't work.
Yeah. How do we, okay, so with Movement for People's Party, how do we really get to start building infrastructure and actually making real change? Because third parties in this country are unfortunately have to deal with a monolith of corporate media propaganda against them. There are state and federal laws that prevent them from being on the ballot. How will Movement for People's Party be different? Because, if we actually tried to host a third-party presidential debate. Yeah. The only presidential candidate that acknowledged to be on our show was Mark Charles for this debate. The response we got from the Greens and Libertarians was, we want to wait so we can be on the stage with Trump and Biden.
If we're not on TV with Trump or Biden, no debate happens, which we thought was a very silly way to view the situation.
Yeah. So how will Movement for People's Party be different?
And now you know why both of those parties are fucking wiped out, right? And now you know why, because it's stupid, ridiculous decisions like that. And so what's your question about how do we start a third party?
Well, was Movement for People's Party, how will it be different? Because I think a lot of people are just trying to look at, where if we're all politically homeless, where can we call home?
Yeah.
Here's how it will be different. Imagine if AOC, Jamal Bowman, Cori Bush, and the rest of the squad weren't inside the Democratic Party. Imagine if they were in a third party, no matter what the party was, whether it was the Green Party or the People's Party or the Socialist Alternative Party, whatever, but they were all in the same party. And then there would be no incentive for them to not work together. There would be no incentive for them to not withhold their vote. They would actually be the Freedom Caucus. They would actually flex their power. But right now, since they've gotten elected through the Democratic Party, their loyalty and pressure is to the Democratic Party. And so if there were, so that's going to be the difference. And you talk about ballot access. So, you know, I made a joke on my show. I'm going to go primary Mark Pocan. And then when the media asked me, what is your platform? I'm going to go, my platform is whatever he's for. And they're like, what do you mean? What do you think about his position on abortion? I'm for whatever he's for. Well, why are you running then? Because I'm going to actually fight for what he says he's going to fight for. He's not. I will. So whatever Mark Pocan says, gives lip service to, I'll actually fight for. That's my party. That's my platform. And that's my campaign. And that would make for hilarious interviews. So that is the difference between a People's Party and those motherfuckers who are inside the Democratic Party. And you know, I saw someone made the argument that, well, you can't call the squad sellouts because they don't take corporate money. Okay, yes, you can. That doesn't, I don't care why they sell me out. All I care is that they did. They sold me out for their own celebrity. They sold me out for their own brand. And it's nothing to do with them not taking corporate money. What is the point of voting for people who don't take corporate money if they roll over to the people who do? The answer is there is no point. And what hashtag Forced to Vote did was reveal that. I don't give a fuck that they don't take corporate money. I give a fuck that they fight for me and they fight for the shit that they campaign on. And when they don't, they are selling me out, and fuck you.
I think that's pretty succinctly put.
I think that's well said. And I have to say this, I'm really excited for the future for the Move for People's Party. We've done a lot of coverage of the Greens and Libertarians here in Illinois.
And now we're moving into the People's Party.
Yeah, and I have to say this, we are more than excited to find out what kind of work that they'll do here in the state of Illinois when that stuff does happen.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so right now, I actually remember back when, because you've been consistent for a very long time, I've actually shifted a little bit much towards you on this issue. I remember when we first met in person, which was in the Chicago when we had our radio show, and way back then, your point was the exact same what it is now. We need to move outside the party. We need to have a third party. We have to move into this. And I remember my point at that point was I was like, oh, Bernie's really nice and shiny. And mine was, okay, let's do a little both. Let's get in and out. And I can just feel that really since that conversation that we had, I've been moving much more over to that. And I think that in the end, yeah, you're right. It's the pressures of being within the parties are too set. They're too put in a way that no matter for almost anyone, no matter what you do, if you get into there, even with the best intentions, you're going to be corrupted. You're going to be corrupted by the party. You're going to be corrupted. And I remember one thing I think you mentioned on one of your shows, which was that Nancy's actually really nice to AOC, and then you get the mama bear coming out of that. But when you get into that cauldron, they have every piece of advantage against you to make you do exactly what they want, to make you say everything that you fought for, I can't do, I can't accomplish. I'll just try and wait to work up a committee because that'll make a difference. I really don't have a question. It's just Can I
say before I forget? Yesterday, AOC tweeted out, and this was remarkable. She tweeted out, "Hey, what are you guys ready to push for?" And she started listing policies. Now, notice she didn't say fight. She didn't say fight. She said, "What are you guys ready to push for?" And then she didn't say Medicare. She said healthcare. And she didn't say she didn't say Green New Deal. She said climate. Now, I don't think I'm making too much out of that. I mean, to think that she didn't know what she was doing right there is obvious. I mean, she does know what she's doing. And the people who say, oh, I don't think that AOC, when she sells us out and votes with the establishment, is doing it on purpose for her own interest. I just think she's naive. Now who's being naive, Kate? AOC is naive. That fucking woman is conniving, calculated. She's a fucking sly fox. She's got elected as a politician. She's one of the most powerful people in the entire world. Don't be a fucking chump for AOC, okay? She's not naive. It's very infantilizing. In fact, it's sexist when you do it. She's like, somehow she's just a dumb little girl. No, she's very smart. She's very sly. She's a smooth operator, and she's calculating. And that's what those tweets show. And the fact that she said that my words were violence shows that she's trying to get my fucking channel taken down. And what she's trying to sell is that I don't like being a critique from my left, and I'll do every underhanded, dirty thing to fight back against an activist like me. That's what she did. She fought against me, an activist, because I came at her from the left to ask her to hold up her own campaign promises. And what did she? Well, how did she react? She ignored me. She lied to Justin Jackson, didn't show up to our town hall, and then she smeared me by saying I was doing violence, knowing that is a thing that'll get my channel taken down.
Damn.
That's who AOC is, everybody. Sorry to fucking bring the news to you. I know Kyle Kalinske doesn't want to believe these truths yet, but it will happen.
There's one last thing I want to bring up, and I think this is kind of breaking story, but you'll probably maybe get a good laugh out of it, Jimmy. But Biden just selected for labor secretary.
And by the way, can I just stop? Can I just stop and say Kyle Kalinske is an awesome dude. His idea to start the Justice Democrats was a fucking awesome idea. I liked it. And he was on board with hashtag Force the Vote. And he was the most eloquent and strongest supporters of hashtag Force the Vote. Kyle Kalinske is the real deal. I owe him a great debt of gratitude.
And Kyle Kalinske has been doing some great work, as did everyone else who was part of that town hall. And what's really sad is that I'm quoting Justin Jackson from that town hall, is everyone's story is so relatable because these aren't flukes, these aren't just random events. Millions of Americans are dealing with this nightmare of our health system. So I just want to get your comments on this real quick. Biden just selected for labor secretary Mayor Marty Walsh. With apparently the position of labor secretary was supposed to go to, I guess, Bernie. I just kind of want to get your thoughts on this little recent pick that Biden has.
Well, his pick for labor secretary.
Yeah.
Did that happen today?
Yeah, Mayor Marty Walsh, labor secretary.
Just happened.
Just happened.
So I don't know who that is, but it just goes to show you that I had some inside sources earlier that said that what Bernie was pushing for the Secretary of Labor, but I had sources that said that he was willing to settle for a go fuck yourself. And
seemed to have paid off.
And he did. So it really paid off. It was good that he went out and campaigned as hard as he did for Joe Biden, because it really paid off for him and the progressive movement that he represents. Another great job, Bernie. Thank you.
Okay, so what's up?
No, I think I want to make sure we don't keep you too long, Jimmy. It's been a real pleasure talking, and we're gonna keep doing our best.
I watched that video. Yeah. I watched that. I'm halfway through that video.
Oh, the one that I sent you in the link.
Oh, power.
Yeah, that's the one I tell everyone to watch. If you know how this power is built, you know how to destroy it. You know how to rebuild it.
All right. With that being said, I think as we wrap this up, Jimmy, for all our viewers who are perhaps maybe feeling politically homeless or disenfranchised, what do you want to say to them to at least, to keep the fight going?
The way that we affect them now is by direct action and by starting a third party. So they have to have something to be scared of. There has to be a place for people to go. And right now there isn't. They can only go back into that fucking party. So there's got to be someplace else for people to go, and we're providing it. And it's called the People's Party, and it's thepeoplesparty.org. Now, it's brand new. We've got ballot access. And people like to say, oh, you can't get ballot access. Well, the Green Party under Jill Stein had ballot access in 46 states. So they lost it under Howie Hawkins, but that's because of fucking COVID. So this is not doable. This is very doable. The People's Party, by the way, have already hooked up with the top ballot access specialists in the country, are working with us. We already have people defecting from the Democratic Party. A guy from the DSA in New York who got elected as a state rep is jumping. There's somebody from the Democratic Party in Colorado who's jumped. So that's what we need to have happen. We need to create a place where people who are unhappy with the Democratic Party can go. Okay. And, the Republican Party was an anti-slavery party, right? And they were a regional party. And when President Lincoln was elected. So this idea that this is undoable is more propaganda. It's just propaganda. Is it hard? Yeah. Is it harder than taking over the Democratic Party? No. Taking over the Democratic Party is not possible.
Mm-hmm. And that's a good note to end it on, Jimmy. As always, you are more than welcome to be on our show, Chicago's very own. We miss your shows at Talia Hall. Here's hoping for better times so that we can go back there again and enjoy your show. I know they have a lot of it's always been great there. I want to thank you again for joining us. I hope everyone who's watching this is taking good care of themselves. Peace, and let us all do what we can to build a better future.
Let me just say, you guys are doing great work. I like your show. I like it a lot. I like that it's getting a lot of views now and people are catching on. And so I think you guys are on the right track. They're doing a great job.
Yeah, that means a lot.
And that shadow ban really knocked us, but it feels good to be able to speak to people again. It's an amazing feeling, and it's a feeling we have to cherish and be responsible for.
And side note too, Jimmy, thank you for also telling us that it's okay to question people we follow and the establishment, because it's been a tough road, but we appreciate voices that are speaking truth to power. Thank you so much for being on our show.
Cornel West said to me that if you got to raise your voice, raise your voice. If you got to crack your jokes, crack your jokes. And he said, you got to keep them honest. And if you got to keep me honest, then you come at me. And if I got to come at you, I'll come at you. But we got to keep each other honest. And that's what I'm doing. And when I'm doing that, it's very disconcerting to see people on the left come at me. People like the Young Turks and all the other people have been disingenuously coming at me. People who take NATO money, people who are for the Libya invasion, those types of people who are on Comcast platforms. Those are the people who are coming at me. How people can watch somebody whose show is on a Comcast platform who has an MSNBC contract, and the only pressure campaign they've ever raised in their life was to get an MSNBC contract back. How you can call yourself a progressive and watch that fucking show? I don't know. I feel sad for those people.
Well, I got to tell you, our mission here in the city of Chicago is to take it over, bring in people. So we're going to do our damnedest, and we know you are as well. And in a sense, it's up to us to make the future we want.
That's right. Let us all do what we can to build a better future. Peace and take care, everyone.